technology company Masimo has sued the U.S. Customs and Border Protection over a decision by the agency that allowed Apple to import Apple Watches with blood oxygen reading technology during a patent dispute between the companies. The company noted that the customs improperly determined that Apple can import watches with pulse oximetry technology, reversing its own decision from last year without notifying Masimo. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt has stated that the Commerce Department is continuing to work on the prospect of the U.S. government taking a 10% stake in Intel, adding that U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is ironing out the details.
Well, the president, he's been very clear about the need to reshore manufacturing that's critical to our national and economic security. That is especially in regards to chips and semiconductors, which is why the president has initiated the Commerce Department to conduct a study on semiconductors, a Section 232 investigation, so we can ultimately implement tariffs. And it's why our export license requirements remain in place as well. As for this 10% government stake deal, the Department of Commerce continues to work on it. I know Secretary Lutnick is working on it and ironing out the details, but the president wants to put America's needs first, both from a national security and economic perspective. And it's a creative idea that has never been done before to ensure that we're both reshoring these critical supply chains while also gaining something of it for the American taxpayer.
Oil prices edged up on Thursday, bolstered by signs of strong demand in the United States, with uncertainty over efforts to end the war in Ukraine also lending support. Brent crude futures were up around 0.2% at $66.95 a barrel, having hit a two-week high earlier in the session. U.S. West Texas Intermediate was up at $67.77. Both contracts climbed over 1% in the prior session. Gold prices were steady on Thursday as investors awaited Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's speech at the Jackson Hole Symposium on Friday for signals on the central bank's policy direction. Spot gold fell marginally at $3,344.66 per ounce. U.S. gold futures for December delivery were steady at $3,388.7. The U.S. dollar index was up 0.2%, making U.S. dollar priced gold expensive for overseas buyers. In markets, global stocks were mixed on Thursday ahead of a Federal Reserve conference later in the week. In the U.S., Nasdaq futures decreased 0.30%. The S&P 500 futures edged down 0.2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average futures dropped 0.30%. In Europe, Germany's DAX inched up 0.06%, and the UK's FTSE 100 edged up 0.18%, while France's CAC 40 dropped 0.50%. In Asia, the Shanghai Composite inched up 0.13%, while the Hang Seng Index dropped 0.24%, and the Nikkei 225 decreased 0.65%.